I moved to Manhattan in 2008 to study French at Kansas State University. Growing up in Anchorage, Alaska, I was excited about living in a smaller community and attending a school with a great football team. My first semester, I partied hard, too much alcohol and smoking pot. School completely went by the wayside. I was asked by the college to not return after my first semester. I ended up moving to Topeka, where I worked at the mall. I would go for long periods of time of not drinking or doing drugs, but then I would be hanging out with friends that used, and I would be right back using, and I couldn't stop. I would get stomach pains that wouldn't go away, but still, I kept using. I turned to harder narcotics, snorting pain pills and acid. I soon became suicidal. A friend drove me to the emergency room where I had my first medical intake for mental illness. I started seeing a therapist and a medical provider at Pawnee Mental Health, but stopped coming after a couple of months. It just wasn't for me. I moved back home with my mom and dad in Alaska, but the help was short-lived. I was depressed, anxious, and suicidal. The doctors finally determined what was causing my stomach pain, and I had surgery to correct it. I wasn't working and had way too much time on my hands. I was in a constant fight with my parents, and soon they kicked me out of the house. I moved back to Manhattan and tried to find employment to support myself, but the jobs didn't last long. I continued to struggle with depression and suicidal thoughts. I also continued to use drugs and alcohol. I really didn't think I had a problem and didn't want to attend group sessions or take my medications. My mom and dad ended up moving to Manhattan to retire and to be closer to me. They were really worried about me. In December of 2015, I stopped using drugs and alcohol. I went cold turkey, and it was horrible. I was going through withdrawals and ended up in the emergency room 4 nights in a row. They would get me somewhat stable and then send me home. On the 28th of December, I voluntarily admitted myself for treatment in Topeka. I stayed for 3 days before I finally checked myself out. I was still suicidal, and I really thought something horrible was going to happen to me or to my family. We moved into our new home in January. It was nice, but I was anxious and upset all of the time. I couldn't eat, and everything in my life was a major hurdle that I just couldn't get over. Then, in the early morning hours of February 3rd, 2016, I woke up, went upstairs, I grabbed a knife, a pen and paper, I went to the bathroom and wrote a note to my family. I wanted to end the pain, the thoughts, this life. I sat in the tub and I slit both of my wrists. All I wanted to do is die. But after what seemed like an hour, I had this clarity come back to me. My hands no longer worked, but I remember dialing 911 with the tip of my nose. The police came to our house, knocked on the door, and rushed inside. My mother and father had no idea what was going on. The police ran downstairs and began saving my life. I was rushed to the hospital where they stabilized me and transferred me to Kansas City for care. I lost the use of both of my hands. After 54 days in the hospital, I was sent to a psychiatric hospital for an additional 10 days of evaluation. I was released back home with my family. When I first arrived home, I went to the bathroom where I attempted to take my life and just sobbed uncontrollably. I was happy that I was still alive and that I was home with my mom and dad. I was assigned to Chris at Pawnee Mental Health. I had weekly appointments in Pawnee's alcohol and drug program. I continued to regain the use of my hands through physical therapy. I made up my mind that I wanted to get better, and with the help of Chris and group therapy, I began the process of healing my mind and body. I met with a peer support specialist that helped guide me and make sure that I was staying on the right track. With therapy and counseling, I was making great strides. I was getting out of the house more and making good relationships. I started to enjoy going to Pawnee and becoming whole once again. After 1 year of classes and counseling at Pawnee, I was offered a part-time job as a client support provider with Pawnee. I now help others who are going through the drug and alcohol program. I help with getting them out of the house, buying groceries, or sometimes just going for walks in the neighborhoods to get fresh air and sunshine. It's great for me to be able to give back to others that need help. I can relate with them about what they are going through since I have walked in their shoes. I am glad to be alive today, and I am happy that I can help others overcome their own personal struggles.